know if a turtle or a beaver or something just got in behind me. I don't know. If you guys see the, the Loch Ness Monster or a Sasquatch or something behind me, just holler. I may not be able to hear you, but at least you can try. Alright, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Zach Ramsey Fishing. I'm out here on Clark's Hill today, and it's getting to be hot. It's getting to be the dog days of summer. And around here on herring lakes, what that means is brush pile fishing. So I wanted to take a few minutes and go through some of the baits that I've had success with fishing over top of brush piles. So let's get into it. Alright, so the way you want to think about brush pile fishing, if you're new to it, if you don't have much experience, and I'm not saying I'm, the world's foremost expert on fishing brush piles, but the stuff I've learned over the last couple of years, doing it more with forward-facing sonar and that sort of thing, is you kind of want to think about working top down. So, of course, you're chasing herring fish. A topwater needs to be on the deck. You never know when they might pop up. So this is my topwater setup. I've got a 7.5 to 5 or 7.5 to 1 ratio reel. Got 30-pound braid. This happens to be a ALX Icos Hammer 7. I throw that rod when I'm using some bigger topwaters. This one is a kind of a, I don't know, one I don't think a lot of people throw, or at least I haven't seen a lot of people throw, which is a Bill Lewis stutter step. It's kind of a little bit different, has a little bit different action. It's a little bit versatile. You can kind of wake it, you can walk it, and the thing I love about it is you can pretty much walk it in place, so you can kind of just keep twitching your rod, and it'll basically hardly move back towards you, but it'll walk back and forth really nicely. I've got a bone one on from the other day when it was cloudy, but some kind of topwater bait, whether it's a walking bait or something more like a riser or something like that, that you're just kind of reeling across the top of the water. Bone if it's cloudy, chrome if it's sunny. Head & Outdoors has tons of options for topwaters. They've got all the good stuff. Another real popular one around here is like an I'm a skimmer. So that's definitely an option. Of course, your typical like gunfish and spooks and that sort of thing are going to be good options as well. But make sure you have a topwater, good topwater setup. Make sure you've got one. Yeah, so that's going to be kind of the first setup. And again, if you're seeing them real high in the water column, they're way up above that brush pile, typically that topwater bite is going to be what you want to go to. The next one is a little bit more versatile. So some sort of jointed swim bait. So this happens to be like a Sebile. It's not a true Sebile. It's the Berkley, Magic Swimmer, the Sebile copy essentially. Hard to find any of the legit Sebiles anymore. If you have some, don't get rid of them. They're super good. But some kind of jointed swim bait. I've got this on an Icos Hustler, a 7-foot. So this is kind of a crankbait rod. You're kind of fishing this like a crankbait or a wake bait. Sometimes you can sink it to them a little bit, but I've got this on 15-pound fluorocarbon. This is like 6.5 or 6.4 to 1 gear ratio reel. And so again, you're fishing it similar to a topwater. Some days they're going to want it right under the surface. Others, they're going to want you to sink it a little bit more. But just from what I've learned, from what I've experienced, just a slow, steady retrieve is probably the best retrieve. You can play around with different stuff, but it seems like just that slow retrieve is going to be good. If you're throwing a bait like this, you want a somewhat of a soft rod, because they're gonna blitz this thing when they're biting it, and so you want that rod to load up real well. You don't want to be snatching it away from them, and then you want to be able to absorb these runs, especially if you get a big spotted bass, big largemouth. You want to be able to absorb the run and not, have a real stiff rod that they're going to pop off or pull those hooks out. So again, Ikeos Hustler, fantastic crankbait rod, also a great rod to throw these jointed swim baits and that sort of thing. So check them out. They have them over at Haddon Outdoors, and they've got a great selection of jointed swim baits. They've got the Berkeleys. They've got a couple like smaller brands, some local brands. They have the Spro sashimi swimmers. They've got all kind of stuff. So definitely worth having a couple in your box. You know, there's some real high dollar stuff too. Like if you've been to Lanier, they've got, you know, sweet baits and stuff like that are I forget what they're called, and triple fish and all that sort of thing they're real pricey, but man, they're good swim baits. But jointed swim bait, definitely going to be something you want to be throwing over the top of those brush piles. All right, so this next one, it's a Clark's Hill classic. Not many times a year I don't have a fluke tied on. Like I've said in other videos, man, you never know when these schooling fish are going to come up, and a great way to target those fish is a fluke. It's old, it's basic, but it works. So I would recommend having a few different colors. Haddon Outdoors has a great selection of some limited run colors and some real hard to find colors. So if you're a fluke fisherman, whether you're throwing one or not, you know, for your next tournament or whatever it is, stop in Haddon's, pick up some of the good colors while you can, because once the fluke bite, you know, is going, you know, if there's a particular color that gets hot, they sell out pretty quick. So stock up on these good colors. But a weightless fluke is typically how I'm going to fish it. So I've actually got this on a 4/0 owner, so it's kind of a big beefy hook. But I've got it open like this because I'm, again, fishing it primarily just over the top of the brush. I'm not worried about it getting hung up. And similar to the jointed swim bait, this is something that most of the time, you know, you're going to have to play around with. Do they want it just under the surface? Do they want it sunk to them a little bit? And if you got to sink this thing, you have to be a little patient because it can sink pretty slow. But once they see it, typically they'll come after it pretty good. So weightless fluke, soft jerk bait, you know, if you have a different brand or whatever that you like, go for it. I'm sure it'll work. I've got this on a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader to, I believe this is 15 pounds braid. This particular rod, I've got several rods that I throw a fluke on. Right now I've got this on a ALX Zolo mixed smalls, and this one is kind of a longer rod, so it's a 7/6. And the reason I've got it on this one is because I'm, again, making these long casts over the top of brush piles. You want to try to make sure you're getting your bait past the brush, and letting it, you know, sink or just come from kind of away from the brush pile. If you sink it right on top of them, sometimes they don't react as well. So I want to get the long cast, so the mixed smalls really helps me with that. I love throwing a fluke on a hover as well, so that one a couple inches shorter. And then if I'm throwing sometimes a weightless fluke or sometimes weighted, it just kind of depends on the conditions and what I'm doing. I'll also throw it on a Zolo split tail, so that's a bait casting rod. Fantastic rod for throwing a weightless fluke or a lightly weighted fluke. And it just kind of depends on the conditions. It's been really windy here a lot lately, so I've been sticking with the spinning rod just because it's a little easier to control in the winds. I don't have to worry about, you know, trying to make a bomb cast and then backlashing and stuff like that. So Zolo mixed smalls has been what I've been leaning on lately. And then, you know, whatever your favorite spinning reel is. This happens to be a Shimano. Not sponsored by any reel companies or anything, but Shimano makes a pretty mean spinning reel. And casting reels too, obviously. But this stuff is available at Haddon Outdoors. I believe he's got a mixed smalls and a hover in stock. If not, let him know he needs to order more, or let them know they need to order more, and we'll get those over to him. I know they've got the Miraval, this Shimano in stock, so that's a good option as well. Like I said, plenty of flukes. They've got the right hooks. These owner hooks are money. I know some guys like BMC or Gamakatsu, whatever you like, just go for it. I would say just kind of a straight shank hook has been what I found to be the most effective, because I mean, usually these fish are just inhaling this thing and it'll be in the back of their throat. I'm not sure that color matters a whole lot. This one is like a lemon shad or lemon ice. I forget what it's called. It's got a little bit of chartreuse hint to it. This one I throw a little bit more on cloudy days, and again, these setups are from when it was cloudy a few days ago, but I may switch to a more clear kind of translucent color if it's sunny, or some people I know have had success with kind of like the crazy chrome or just the really, really heavy metal flake flukes when it's sunny. Whatever you have confidence in, honestly. I think a lot of times it's kind of just a reaction bite. You're either getting them to come up off that brush pile, or if they're just schooling, you're just trying to get it near them, and hopefully they eat it. So Fluke is a must-have for Clark's Hill, but it's also a great tool for brush pile fishing, whether you're Clark's Hill or anywhere else. You can mess with the cadence. You can slow reel it, you can twitch it. You can sink it to them, like I said. You're going to have to play with it a little bit and figure out how they want it, but absolutely make sure you have a Fluke on the deck if you are throwing at brush piles. Okay, so the last one that I'm going to go through in this video at least is going to be an underspin. Specifically, this is a spot choker. If you guys have watched my channel, you know that I love the spot choker. This is the only underspin that I have in my boat. And man, Rob has a ton of different colors. He's got different blade styles, different hook sizes. For spot choker, all they make is underspins, and they do have a forward-facing sonar head as well. But I mean, this thing is dialed. You can fish it fast, you can fish it slow. It will not blow out. It is far and away the best underspin that I've ever used, and so again, that's why I use it. I'm lucky that Rob wanted to work with me some, and it's a great company. I was gonna throw it whether I got to work with Rob and spot choker or not. This was gonna be what I was throwing anyways, so it worked out nicely. But this thing is gonna be great for those days where the fish are in the brush, but they're not really wanting to come out as much. Maybe they're a little bit more slowly reacting. Maybe they're deeper, and you're having a hard time sinking a fluke or a Swimbait or something to them. Spot choker is going to be able to get down there pretty deep pretty quickly. I would recommend having a variety of sizes. I would say anywhere from probably 3/8 if you're just buying one size. But if you're fishing real deep later in the summer, having a half might not be a bad idea. But I've got this on 12-pound fluorocarbon. This is actually like a deep cranking reel, so this is a 5/6-to-1 reel. So I've found that keeping this thing moving but slowly is the best thing. So you don't want to reel it too quickly. Not to say you can't catch fish on it reeling quickly. Obviously you will. But keeping this thing moving and keeping this blade turning is important. But the longer you give that fish to follow it, the better. So low gear ratio reel is my preference. I've got this on a Hustler 76 by ALX. So this is again another kind of a crankbait style rod, which some people might think is strange. I don't know. But I like this style rod for spot choker because it's an open hook bait. Again, I want that good load up, and I've had experiences where I felt like the faster action rod. So the Hustler's a moderate. It's like a glass composite rod. And so you get that much more parabolic bend that goes deep down into the rod, and I feel like that it loads up just a little bit better. I'm not going to snatch this away from a fish, or at least I'm less likely to. And then it loads up beautifully and allows me to fight that fish to the boat. It can absorb a lot of runs, like when I'm catching fish on Lake Lanier and I'm got 4 or 5 pound spots that are trying to dig me back down in the brush piles. This Hustler can really absorb that run, and I don't have to worry about fish popping off because the rod's too stiff. So yeah, I throw most of the time I'm going to throw a Superfluke Junior on the back of my spot choker. There's tons of baits that would work well. I don't really think you can go wrong. But Superfluke Junior is typically what I throw, and I've had good success with it. So again, great bait for just kind of working those deeper brush piles, or if the fish are just a little bit more slow, they're not wanting to come up out of the brush, this can give them a good look sometimes. Maybe that'll get you a couple extra bites. All right, and so this is going to be one of my setups here for if they're just really buried deep in that brush, or maybe I'm just after a big bite. So this is a 5-bass tackle Flatlock. You guys have heard me talk about this thing. There's so many uses for it. It's like the love child of a Texas rig and a jig and a sliding jig. It's just, there's so much you can do with it. You can see that thing is, I throw it a ton. It just comes through everything so well. The only time really I get it hung is, if the hook pops out from the plastic, which just means you need to swap your plastic out. Or sometimes there are just some ridiculously gnarly rocks that this thing, or really any bait, can't get through. Those like sheer drop ones where you feel it fall down in the crack of a rock and you're like, well, I'm not getting that back. So barring those two situations, this thing comes through everything so well. I've got a Magnum Ultravibe Speed Craw on this one. I like this bait, not because I'm sponsored by Zoom, although I wish I was, but I like this one. It's good in brush piles. It's good offshore. I can flip with it. I can toss this in a laydown if I'm up shallow or whatever. And it's just a good kind of jack of all trades, imitator of brim, of crawfish, obviously. So it's a good versatile bait to have. I do like throwing a big worm on a Flatlock. This one is a 1/2 ounce. I've been fishing this a little bit deeper in some deep brush. I'll go down to like a 3/8, and we have a 1/4 coming. It's on the way. And that you can use that like with a shaky head worm or something like that if it's really tough. But this Flatlock is money for coming through brush. It'll come through better than pretty much anything else you can try. So get some Flatlocks. Again, Haddon Outdoors has them. They've also got ridge kickers and stand-in shakes, which are the 5-bass tackle shaky heads. So grab some of those as well, because they're also great. I throw those a ton too. I've been loving this Flatlock, so I haven't been wanting to put it down. But I've got this on a ALX Oxum smoker. So this is a 7.5 heavy rod. So this is, you're laying the wood to this one. This isn't the heaviest rod that ALX makes, but it's up there. And it's extremely strong. I've got 20-pound fluorocarbon on. I don't particularly like throwing an 8-3-1 or like an 8-speed reel. I've got one on this rod just because I've just been kind of playing with it. Personally, I'm weird, maybe. I don't know. I like nothing more than really a 7-speed is kind of, I like the mid to lower range, I guess. I just feel like I have more power, a little bit more control over the bait. It helps me slow down, but whatever. 20-pound fluorocarbon, whatever reel you like. But then having one of these big rods that, sometimes, this Flatlock, it might be kind of dangling over a limb and that 5-pounder comes and grabs it. You need to have some meat behind it when you swing on them to drive that hook home and then get them up out of that brush pile. Because if you can't get their head up, they're going to bury you, and odds are they'll get off or break off or something like that. So you want some heavy duty gear. There are obviously times when a drop shot or a shaky head are going to do well, but if you're throwing big stuff, if you're looking for that big bite, you want the biggest fish in that brush pile. Grab a Flatlock, grab a big craw style bait, a big worm. You want something that, they're hot. Just like you and me, it's 90 degrees out here. The water is, granted, colder down on a brush pile than it is on the surface, but still, fish are hot. I don't want to go, run a 10K just to eat a couple of chicken nuggets. I'm a big guy. I would rather sit in the AC and eat, a big burger or a big bowl of ice cream or something when it's hot. Bass are the same way, right? So give them a good meal. Give them something that they are going to feel like it's worth spending the energy to go eat it. So those are my setups, and I'll kind of work my way down. That same progression that we just made in this video is kind of my approach when I haven't been out, you know, because again, I only fish on weekends typically. And so, you know, if I haven't been out since last weekend and I'm hitting some of my brush piles, it's like, okay, I'll start with a topwater, you know, oh, perfect, they ate it, I'm done, I'm going to throw topwater, you know. Or, man, they came up at the topwater, but they stopped short, or, you know, they didn't eat it, or maybe they didn't react to it at all. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to work my way down to the Swimbait or maybe the Fluke, and then if it's real tough, then, you know, maybe I drop down to that spot choker. And then if they're just really buried in that brush and don't want to come out, then that's when I'm going to resort to a shaky hit or a drop shot. Most of the time, I don't do that anymore. Not because it doesn't catch fish, obviously it will. But the one thing I've learned is just keep moving. So those are my setups. Again, ALX Rods has fantastic options for anything and everything. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully this video is helpful. If you're not super familiar with brush pile fishing, or even if you're a vet, you know, let me know if there's something that I need to be doing different. You know, because there's always a better idea, or there's something different that someone hasn't thought of. So that's what's fun of bass fishing, right? Is we're always chasing those fish. We're always trying to figure them out. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll keep chasing them.